All right, I'm doing a segment on catching big bass in ponds. Since most weekend anglers fish ponds more than they actually fish lakes in a boat, I want to do a segment on how I actually catch some of my biggest bass fishing ponds. Yes, I'm using live bait. I'm using big bait fish called creek chubbs. All right, creek chubbs, red-tailed chubbs, they'll all work. You take a good zoom-in shot of a creek chub right here. Nice big bait. I've got a big 3-aught hook, probably 4 or 5 inch creek chub. I will also be using creek chubs as big as 7 to 8 inches. You're gonna think I'm crazy. Big bass like big bait. Let's go ahead and catch some fish. All right, now there's a few different ways you can actually fish the creek chubs when you're fishing a pond. Now, I'm fishing a public pond. It's not a private pond. It's not a farm pond. There's houses all around. It's a pretty heavily fished pond. This is one of the better ponds that I fish. Basically, a lot of these bass come up, they feed shallow on the bluegill. I'm just gonna work this creek chub along the shoreline, anywhere from 5 to like 25 feet out. I'm gonna work it in slowly, like I'm fishing a plastic worm. Soft plastic bait, nice and slow, nice and easy. And you'll feel them hit, set the hook, wind them in. Pretty easy fishing. I catch most of my fish by working the bait. You could throw it out on a bobber. You could throw it out and just sit. For me, I've got a 3-aught hook. The chub will swim down. The chub's always gonna swim down, and that'll get it deep enough. Now I'm just gonna work it along the bank until I get a hit. Oh, not a bad one. There we go. Not bad for the first one on the chub right there. Good solid 2.5 pounder on the creek chub. I actually had a pretty slow start today. Usually I catch bass really quick on creek chubs here. So I decided to slow it down. We had some thunderstorms last night. The water's a little dirtier. So I just went to a nice little pick up, drop, pick up, twitch, drop. Caught a nice bass. And he absolutely inhaled it. There's bass number 1. Well, there's a couple key things that allow you to have a little more success fishing with the creek chubs than just grabbing a chub, throwing it out on a bobber, and just sitting there. You could do that to catch bass. The problem is with ponds, especially public ponds that are heavily fished, a lot of times you're gonna have to cover some water to catch some fish. So some of the key things that help me catch more fish: 1, I work the chub like I'm using a lure. All right, I'm working the shoreline, I'm covering water. I don't fish the same spot for more than 3 to 5 minutes unless I'm catching fish there, and then I'll stay in that spot for a little bit longer. But you want a big hook, you want a big 3-aught hook, so when they grab the actual chub, take a look here, the chub's a pretty big bait. When they grab the actual creek chub, this whole chub's gonna be in the bass's mouth. If you don't have a big hook to set through the creek chub and into the bass, you're gonna lose fish. I fished with smaller hooks before. A lot of times I'd set the hook, would have nothing on, just lost bass after bass after bass. So you want a big hook, 3-aught hook will work. One more important thing with working these chubs to catch more big bass in ponds, and these chubs will work anywhere, but this segment's more for pond fishing, catching big bass in ponds. The big chubs are, in fact, my best way to find big bass and to catch more big bass in ponds. But a lot of friends, buddies that I fish with, they'll actually throw these chubs out there. They'll work them real slow, and they'll work just live chubs. And as soon as the chub's dead, they're going in the bucket grabbing another chub. I've had a lot of success. Sometimes I outfish the live chubs with the dead chubs. And the chub may be alive when I start, but after I cast them 10, 12, 15 times, the chub's probably gonna die. From the long cast, hitting the water, working the chub in, is probably gonna die. But then I'll actually work this chub almost like you'd work like a banjo minnow, just a big soft plastic minnow. Instead of just a nice 1-2 lift and drop, or a 1-2 pop and drop, I'll actually give a quicker jerk. If you see my rod here, this chub right now I'm using is dead. And I'll do a nice quick snap like that, just to pull it up, give it kind of that erratic action, and I'm trying to get more of that reaction strike. Then when the bass comes in and looks at your bait as it's falling, because you'll get your bites on the fall, they're gonna be able to smell that chub. It's real, it's a live bait. It's way more tempting than a soft plastic bait, and it's just a better way to catch big bass, especially in ponds. So don't give up on those dead chubs, work those dead chubs. A nice quick snap that'll lift it off the bottom, it'll cause the chub to do something erratic. Then usually on that fall, that's when the bass is gonna come in and grab that bait. Here we go, another one. Ah. There we go. Not a monster, but once again, another solid 2.5 pound bass. Number 3. There we go. Ooh, got him. Feels pretty good. Nice. Oh, another solid bass. Another good one. Now, I didn't get that monster. I wanted that, 3, 4, 5 pound bass out of a pond in the northern Illinois area. 3, 4, 5 pound bass are really big bass in ponds. Another nice solid 2.5 pound bass. Creek chubs definitely work. Add them to your arsenal. Make sure to work them once they're dead. They'll still work. Work them like you're working a soft plastic. I catch way more big bass in ponds by using creek chubs, and I work the chub. I don't just sit it out there with the bobber. So check it out. Big hooks, big chubs, big bait, nice fish.